In 2014, when Ronald Read passed away at the age of 92, nothing about his life seemed unusual. He had spent decades working as a gas station attendant and later as a janitor, living quietly in a small town in Vermont. He wore simple clothes, drove an old car, and never showed any signs of wealth. But when his will was read, it stunned everyone who knew him, because this man, who spent years sweeping floors, had built a fortune of nearly $8 million. No business empire, no high-paying career, no sudden windfall. So how did someone most people would overlook end up outperforming many professional investors? That's where his story becomes impossible to ignore. For most of his life, Ronald Read did what millions of people do every day. He went to work, earned a modest income, and lived simply. He worked at a gas station fixing cars for over 2 decades, then later took a job as a janitor at J.C. Penney, where he spent years quietly sweeping floors. To everyone around him, he looked like a man just getting by. But behind that ordinary life was a habit that would quietly change everything. He read. Almost every day, Ronald would walk to his local library and sit down with newspapers, especially financial pages like the Wall Street Journal. He wasn't looking for shortcuts or quick wins. He wasn't chasing hype or risky bets. He was doing something far less exciting, but far more powerful. He was learning. Over time, he began investing in companies he understood, not flashy startups or risky trends, but stable, familiar businesses, companies that made everyday products people would keep using for decades, things like household goods, banks, and industrial companies. He focused on what was reliable, not what was popular, and then he did something most people struggle to do. He held on. While others bought and sold constantly, trying to time the market or react to the news, Ronald stayed patient. He held some of his investments for decades, sometimes over 50 or even 60 years, and as time passed, something powerful began to happen. His money started to compound. At first, the growth was slow, almost invisible, but year after year, the returns built on themselves. Dividends were reinvested. Gains generated more gains. What started as small, consistent investments slowly grew into something much larger, not because of luck, but because of time. While many people fall into the trap of increasing their spending as their income grows, Ronald Read did the opposite. He lived below his means. He didn't chase luxury or try to impress anyone. He drove simple cars, wore practical clothes, and kept his lifestyle modest, not out of necessity, but by choice. He valued independence more than appearances, and that decision made all the difference. By the time he passed away, Ronald Read had accumulated a portfolio worth around $8 million, more than many executives, investors, and high-income earners ever achieve. But what he did next made his story even more meaningful. He didn't leave his wealth behind for status or recognition. Instead, he donated around $6 million to his local hospital and library, the same library where he had spent years reading, learning, and quietly building his knowledge. The place that helped him grow became part of what he gave back. No fame, no spotlight, no shortcuts, just consistency, discipline, and patience over a lifetime. His story challenges one of the biggest assumptions people have about money, that your income determines your wealth. Because Ronald Read proved something different. It's not about how much you make. It's about what you do with what you have, and how long you're willing to stay consistent. So does this mean you should become a janitor? No, because this was never about the job. It was about the mindset. He invested in what he understood. He reinvested what he earned, and he ignored the noise when others panicked. Year after year, while the world chased quick results, he stayed focused on the long term, and in the end, the man nobody noticed built something extraordinary. So, if someone living a life that simple could create something that powerful, what's stopping you?